January 6, 2024. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Figure Four Podcast. My name is Doug. This episode, Donnie and I are doing total Wrestle Talk. We're going to talk about, as of tonight, what's going on with the Royal Rumble, the very few participants they have released. We're going to talk about the, as of tonight, announced the Fatal Four-Way for the Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship with Roman Reigns. We're going to talk about The Rock. What's going on with that? He wants to be the head of the table. When is that going to happen? And we're going to talk about what's going on with Chris Jericho in AEW. Sounds like he might have got himself in a little trouble if it's substantiated. Let's get to the show. Enjoy it, folks. So, the Men's Royal Rumble as of SmackDown last night. And the Rumble's only 3 weeks away, less than 3 weeks, whatever it is. And they've only got a couple of names so far. So far, it's CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Shinsuke Nakamura, Bobby Lashley, and then there's 26 more people to be decided. And the Women's Royal Rumble, it's Bayley, Becky, Nia Jax, Bianca Belair, 26 more. Then there's the Undisputed Championship match. As of last night, will be a Fatal Four-Way. You got Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, LA Knight. And then the U.S. Championship will be Logan Paul against Kevin Owens. So that's what they have announced for the Royal Rumble so far. Now, you know, in the men's and the women's, they're going to probably bring in actors. They're going to bring in former wrestlers. They do it every year. But now I'm going to pose this question, and it's kind of like what I want to talk about later on. There's a lot of rumors, or I shouldn't say rumors, there's a lot of debate on why The Rock should enter the Royal Rumble. Now, I don't think it would work because WrestleMania is not set yet. We got to get through the Royal Rumble first. But there's a pay-per-view coming up in another country. I think it might be Australia. I can't remember. But
Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, yep. Supposedly now that is where Roman Reigns and The Rock are going to fight. And if that's the case, you can forget about it. Roman is going in to WrestleMania as the champion. Right. It's a cool build-up. It was cool to see The Rock back. I personally think that should be a match for WrestleMania because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself as far as the kind of list that I wanted to go down. So let's just stick to this for now. We're less than 3 weeks out from the Royal Rumble, and they still have 26 people. Now, you know they're going to leave 3 spots, maybe 4 as a surprise. Same on the women's side. Are you surprised that they haven't announced more participants? I mean, you know you're going to have your mid-card guys in there. That's a given, you know. But are you surprised at this point they haven't announced more people?
I'm a little surprised, to be honest. You're going to see guys like, you know, Miz is going to enter. You know, like you said, you're going to have your mid-card guys show up. I honestly don't know what to expect out of this year's Rumble.
I don't either. It's kind of it seems lackluster so far.
Yeah. Now, Andrade, I think his name is Andrade from AEW.
Yes.
His contract is up.
Yeah, he's going back to WWE. It won't surprise me if he shows up. And I was actually surprised when he was let go the first time. Because Andrade,
yeah.
I always liked him when he was in WWE. I thought he was a good wrestler. But you know what? Sometimes you need to go away and get a new paint of coat, as Jim Ross calls it. You got to learn a new move. And then you come back. Same as Drew McIntyre had to. He had to leave and then come back to get over. So it's good that way. And I think he's going to come back and get a little bit of a push fairly quickly, which he'll be really cool to see back. I hope he's in the Royal Rumble. That would be really cool to see.
Yeah. I think you'll see him as being one of the surprises. Um, the women's side, I mean, I really don't know. Again, I don't know what to expect in terms of like the actual Rumble match. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions like going into this Rumble. Looking at the Rock angle, I think he's kind of pulling a Cena where he's going to come back for a little bit. Like he'll make a couple of shows, maybe a couple of. I don't think he'll make many house shows. It's mostly going to be TV.
Yeah.
Um, where the Writers Guild strike is finally over in Hollywood. Like this is going to be his way of making a couple of quick bucks. And I mean, when he showed up the other night, man, like that was a huge pop.
Oh, it was awesome. I even freaked out. I was like, and I had it PVR'd, but
Yeah,
I found it online by mistake that The Rock showed up and said something about Roman Reigns, and
yeah, yeah,
I was just so excited. It was like being a kid again. I couldn't wait to get home to
yeah,
watch it. I actually looked it up online, and I was like, "Oh my god!" But I knew where he was going as soon as he said, "Should The Rock sit in a booth?"
yep.
And then when he said, "Should I sit at a bar?" I knew exactly what he was going to say next. It took a minute to I was like, "Oh, he's going to burn him. He's going to burn him. He's going to burn him." Like
Yeah,
it was exciting. That whole setup was very well done. Extremely
it
well done.
it totally was. Totally.
But I agree
Now,
with you on both sides. Like yeah, you don't know where to go because it's so far Royal Rumble is set up around, it seems to be anyway, the possibility of The Rock being at the Royal Rumble. That's what it seems to me. It's like everything else is kind of on the side burner
yep.
and it's all about The Rock, which I don't even think Rock is going to be at Royal Rumble. There's nothing confirmed. There's nothing denied. No one's really talking about it. I don't think he's going to be there, period. He might come out at the end of the Fatal Four-Way, which we'll talk about after, which, by the way, I think Roman is still going to go over. He'll find a
Yep.
goddamn way as usual. But I still think, or I should say, if Rock is going to be there, he'll come out and just do his eyebrow and just stare nose to nose with Roman and walk away. That'll be it. I think if he shows up at all, that'll be the extent of it. I don't think he's going to have a major part. I don't think he's going to be part of the Royal Rumble match. I don't think he's going to have a match at the Royal Rumble. He'll show up, do the little stink eye to Roman, and walk away. That's it. That's my take on it personally.
Yeah, I can see that happening. They're I they're not going to do anything made. I mean, if they're going to do anything big with The Rock, it's going to be WrestleMania.
Yes, absolutely.
It's going to be the main stage. Like that's the big show of every single year. It's WrestleMania. If they're going to do anything with him, it's going to happen then.
Well,
The Rumble,
except the pay-per-view, which they're rumoring that match to take place.
right? Elimination
Aside from
Chamber.
that, yeah.
Yep. Um, looking at the Rumble, yeah, I mean, and also I'm just going to kind of throw this back to last night. Like looking at the triple threat that was supposed to determine who was going to take on Reigns, last night just pissed me off.
Yeah, it's
Like,
it's typical. It's just typical.
it like you said, yeah, absolutely, it's typical. Um, like we can't have a definitive one-on-one. Like it has to be, oh, we're going to do a fatal four-way, and who else from the bloodline is going to end up interfering,
Yeah.
at the Rumble?
Yep.
You got Solo, you got Jimmy, you got who else that Roman's going to pull out of his arse.
Yeah, I know.
But like last night, just the whole show just pissed me off. But like the main event was pretty good up until the finale, and Roman shows up and does what Roman does. Um, in terms of like now that this is a fatal four-way coming up at the Rumble, like you said, he's not losing that belt. He's going to go into Mania as the champion.
Of course, he's not. There's no way with WrestleMania around the corner. I don't think in the history of Royal Rumble has the champion. No, I think it did happen one time. I was going to say, I don't think the champion has ever lost the title at the Royal Rumble. But I think it might have happened once. I could be wrong because I'm a little buzzed up and I could be getting my times mixed up. But I think, I can't remember. I don't remember. But maybe Ultimate Warrior lost it to Sergeant Slaughter at the Royal Rumble. I can't remember because Savage had hit him with the scepter. And then Sergeant Slaughter pinned him, but I don't remember if that was the Rumble. I could be totally wrong there. But yeah, especially Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is not the Ultimate Warrior. They're not going to take the title off of Roman Reigns before WrestleMania. That's your money. They're just not going to do that.
And one thing that I will say, two things that I will say, they keep on comparing Roman Reigns' title reign right now against Hulk Hogan.
Roman Reigns has like 52 title defenses or something stupid.
Not only that, he's not even the world heavyweight champion. It's the Universal Championship. Well,
they still consider that the big championship or whatever.
He's still a fucking bitch nipple. I don't give a fuck.
What'd you call him?
Like
a bitch nipple?
A bitch nipple. Yeah, like, I mean, Hogan had like over 200 title defenses during that 1,400 day span or whatever it was.
I thought it was 400 defenses,
whatever it was.
But I could be wrong again. I don't. It's been a few weeks since I've seen it, and I just glanced. But
he's got like 52 or 54 title defenses. Granted, okay, he does have a medical condition. I get it. Like leukemia or whatever it is.
You know what? He's cleared to wrestle. It's got nothing to do with his medical. It's in his contract. And you know what? Good on him. Work smarter, not harder. Give me a contract where I can make lots of money. I've got like 50 or 60 dates a year. But don't give him credit for the longest title reign when he's there like literally to defend the title once every 30 days. Yeah. If that's even still a thing, I honestly don't remember the last time he defended the title. But don't compare him to like guys like Hulk Hogan. And well, here's the thing. He may beat Hogan. He'll never beat Bruno Sammartino.
Oh, no.
Or superstar Billy Graham or maybe Billy Graham or Bob Backlund. Backlund and Sammartino were champion for like 7 years.
Something like that.
Roman is not going to hang on to that title that long. So at least we can be happy.
I'd have to go back and look. But I'm pretty sure Backlund had like over 600 title defenses or something like that during his span.
He probably did. Because
it was somewhere around there.
He was like Bruno. He was champion for 6 years. Something like that. But Roman's never fucking... But again, good on him. I'm not shitting on him. Like I said, work smarter, not harder. Hey, if I had a contract like that, and if you asked any of the boys in the back if they would want Roman's contract, they'd be like, fuck yeah. Make all this money for showing up 60 times a year, 100 times a year, whatever the hell. Fuck yeah. Sign me up for that. So it's too early to get into predictions for the Royal Rumble. I still remember who I said I thought was going to win this year last year, but he kind of took a swerve. And again, we're not going to get into predictions. I'm regretting it now, but I also didn't think they were going to kind of like pump the brakes on him. Was Austin Theory. I said last year he's winning the Royal Rumble because he was John Cena 2.0. They pushed him to the moon, and now they put him with that fucking ass hat with that stupid shirt and the plants and the Grayson effect, whatever it's called.
Grayson Waller.
Jesus Christ. Why would you take a talent like Austin Theory and put him with that douchebag? They're actually hurting.
They didn't.
He's actually hurting his own career hanging around with this fucking guy.
They don't know what to do with him. At the end of the day, that's basically what it comes down to. They don't know what to do with him.
Like that,
and that's why they took the belt off of him.
That Grayson Waller, he needs to stay in NXT. Why he's on the main fucking roster, I don't know. He's useless. He's useless. And all you're doing is bringing down Austin Theory's stock, keeping him with him? I don't get it.
Yep.
Like, anyway, like I said, we're not going to do predictions for the Royal Rumble because it's too soon. We do know CM Punk is in there, and you know what? Just because it's CM Punk, he's got to be an odds-on favorite, but we'll get into that later. Rock and Reigns, we kind of already touched on that. It's probably going to happen when that pay-per-view, I think it's February, that pay-per-view happens.
I think so.
Which will be cool. It'll be cool as shit. Rock's not going to win the title. I'll actually be surprised if it's a title match. I honestly can't see it being a title match. I think it'd be like, hey, this is for being the tribal chief or being the head of the table. Right. I can't see it being for the WWF title, but you never know. It could be like for all the marbles, as they say. One thing I do want to say that I thought was cool as shit last night. And again, I was watching SmackDown and I was pretty buzzed up at this point. I had a PVR. The Authors of Pain are back. I loved these guys. I always loved them. When they first came up a few years ago from NXT and they made the main roster, only a matter of time before they get the tag team titles. Just two big, hard-hitting guys. Like, and then they were gone. I was like, what the fuck? Why'd they get rid of them? But now they're back. And that Karrion Kross and that Scarlett, that was the biggest waste of money WWE had ever had. But now it's like they've brought him back. They've repackaged them. So they got this faction with the Authors of Pain, and you got Karrion Kross, but Paul Ellering is with them. And this is going to be a cool faction. Paul Ellering, everyone knows, anyone that's old school knows who Paul Ellering is and what he did with the Road Warriors and the Legion of Doom. And yes, for the younger people listening, they were two different factions. The Legion of Doom were the Road Warriors. Even Jake the Snake Roberts was with the Legion of Doom. But the Road Warriors were just Hawk and Animal. This is going to be a cool faction, and I can't wait to see how it's going to work because Paul Ellering was a pretty sick fuck and an awesome manager, and I think that's what all those guys need. Like, it's only a matter of time for the Authors of Pain are tag team champions, and they're going to run that division. They're literally going to run that division for as long as they want. Paul Ellering is just going to make them better, but of anybody, Karrion Kross needs to learn from Paul Ellering because Karrion Kross was just awful. He was awful. I'm sorry.
He was terrible. He was absolutely terrible. And maybe that was through booking. Maybe that was through who they were putting him against. Maybe it's through imaging.
I think you've nailed everything. I think it's a little bit of everything, literally.
Like, and like when he showed up on the other night, I was just like, "Are you fucking serious? They're bringing this guy back? Like, what has he done to this point? What has he done before you like removed him from the roster?
Yeah,
and then you're bringing him back. I'm not Triple H. I'm not part of the creative. Like you always said, like we're just a couple of drunks that are on here shooting the shit.
Yep.
But as a fan watching this show and trying to think of what angle can you go in with him, I've always been like, you can't shoehorn him in with anybody to get any heat with anybody.
No, because it's almost it's like a popcorn match. Anything he was ever in was a popcorn match. Like, go buy your merch. Go get some. The crowd literally didn't give a shit. They just didn't care, which is why he was released. Now, again, he was gone. Now he's back. Maybe he learned a new move. Got a fresh paint of coat. And because he looks a little better, just the look in his eye, I noticed last night, just the look in his eye, something's a little different. And like I said, now that Paul Ellering is with him, because he always was, he tried to be a sinister something, and it just wasn't working because, again, and I've said this before about other guys, he's trying too hard to be something that he's not. It never came naturally, and fans see that. Now you look at Jake Roberts, you believe that because it came naturally. You can't pretend to be something you're not. But now being with Paul Ellering, that's a pretty damn good teacher. You want to be something sinister? Paul Ellering is going to take you down that road. So, and then again, this is just going to be a cool faction. I don't expect a whole lot out of this faction until maybe after WrestleMania. They might start building something around WrestleMania for them. But I don't expect much for them until probably shortly after. Just let them get their feet wet right now and get used to each other and just sit under that learning tree that's Paul Ellering. And I think it's going to be a cool faction. Kevin Owens last night is taking on Mr. fucking energy drink rehydration drink, Logan Paul, for the United States Championship at the Royal Rumble. Now, if you remember a couple of shows ago, I predicted he was going to beat Ray. He was going to win that U.S. Championship. He'd parade around with it for a couple months. But I actually thought he was going to drop that belt to Ricochet. And now it's going to be Kevin Owens, which I'm cool with. This is going to be a fucking sweet match because Logan Paul, and I've praised his name for a while now, for a year, over a year.
You have.
And because the guy has taken to wrestling like a fish in water. He's actually really, really good. He's become a student of the game. He trains hard, you can tell. He listens. He's not scared to take chances. And so far, he's worked well with everybody. He even worked well with Roman Reigns. And this is a guy that's had like 5 matches under his belt at that point. So, but remember what I said, he'll parade around with that U.S. title, which he did. He took it to events and stuff like that. I thought he was going to drop it to Ricochet. I was wrong. But I totally expect Kevin Owens to win that belt at Royal Rumble. And it's going to be I think that's going to be the match of Royal Rumble. That's going to be the best match because Kevin Owens can have a good match with anyone. Kevin is a journeyman. He made John Cena look like John Cena could wrestle. So with Logan Paul, Kevin Owens, that's going to be a friggin' awesome match.
That's going to be a fight. Like I think that's going to be like an actual fight. Given, I mean, it's a short history, but they do have a history. I think you're going to see a few receipts given.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a stiff punch.
Tonight.
There's going to be a stiff punch here and there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I sent you something tonight on Instagram where Logan actually took a selfie. He's like, he actually got me, and he's got a huge red mark on this eye. Like
I didn't see that.
Like he literally said he actually got me, and that was Kevin knocking him out last night. I think you'll see some good wrestling moves. I don't think it's going to be a whole lot of mat wrestling. I think it's going to be, you're going to be looking at a lot of stuff that's going to be in the air.
On Logan Paul's part, for sure. I think you're going to see a little bit. There'll be a little bit of mat wrestling. Oh, he did tag him. My internet's terrible in the basement. Jeez, he did tag him pretty good.
He got him.
Jesus, do you know who Logan Paul reminds me of?
Eddie Wallace.
Yes, Eddie Wallace from back home. But you know who else? Lane Stanley.
Jesus, yeah.
Jesus, it just stuck out to me like a sore thumb. I love me some Alice in Chains. And I always look at Logan Paul, I'm like, he reminds me of someone, and it just hit me in this picture. But Eddie Wallace, I can almost see the Yager hair going. Yeah, geez, he tagged him pretty good. But it's going to be good. I think there'll be. It's not just going to be a fight. I think you're going to see some. You're going to see not a lot. You are going to see some technical wrestling. You're going to see. I mean, Kevin, for a big guy in his own right, does a little bit of high flying, but it's going to be impact wrestling. It's not going to be like
Yeah.
a front. There aren't going to be many front chin locks. There'll be a few because every match needs a little break. But you're not going to see a lot of headlocks. You're not going to see a lot of laying on the mat in a back chin lock or anything like that.
No,
It'll be
no.
high impact. But I'm going to say Kevin's walking. Geez, sorry, excuse me. I was going to say Kevin's going to walk away with that U.S. title.
See, I don't know, because I mean, there is some serious damage that has been done to Kevin's hand when he was, I think it was against Escobar, or the match before that when he got his hand injured. Um, if there was any serious injury done to that hand, I don't see them putting the belt on him because he's going to have to get that fixed. Like straight up, he's going to have to get that repaired.
Now, is it a shoot?
Uh,
Like, is it a shoot or is it a work? Like, is it really?
I
Is it just tender? Like, because they
I don't
seem
know.
like they're selling it now. I watched it last night, and it seemed like it was more of a work because I don't know, the grimacing and the selling there just didn't look the way it has in the last few weeks. But
Right.
we don't know either. I
Exactly.
We don't know.
You would assume that like WWE medical, like if he's literally fighting with a broken hand, like he's
Oh, it's definitely not broken. I know that part of it is a
no,
work, but part of me was because I have seen him in the last few weeks, and it's like he's really favoring it, but maybe he's just a really good seller too, right? You
maybe.
got a
I mean,
storyline.
I've had a broken hand, boxer's fracture, needed surgery. I was in a cast for 5 weeks.
Yeah, I remember that. Hey, let's swing a golf club the way that I don't swing and completely drive it into the ground. Oops, I have to go back to the hospital.
So as someone who has broken their hand, I mean, it he can use it. Maybe it's just a maybe he's got some tendon damage. I mean, whatever it is. I as much as I want to say that I don't see them putting the belt on KO.
You don't see it. So you're thinking that the Logan might retain.
I'm thinking. I mean,
It would
I
be a shock because I think everyone is expecting Owens to win, which
yeah
would be a wicked swerve. If Logan Paul did retain, it would be the biggest shock since Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania.
yeah.
It would be cool.
I see in my eyes, and like it's been said on the internet, and I mean it hasn't come from Triple H himself. He doesn't like part-time champs.
No.
But like other people have said he doesn't like part-time champions. That's why they took the belt off of Brock. But I mean it doesn't really explain anything for what Roman Reigns is doing, but we've already talked about that,
Yeah.
and I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Yeah, because we all know how
But
much you love Roman.
yeah. Um, like to keep it on Logan, like he hasn't defended it yet. At least I don't think he
No,
has.
he
Like
hasn't.
he doesn't have active matches.
No.
So like to put it on KO if he is seriously injured, okay. What's that gonna entail? Like he's gonna have to go for some kind of surgery on that if need be. So he's gonna be on the shelf for a little while. But at the same time, it's like Triple H doesn't like part-time champs. This is what Logan Paul is doing. He's a part-timer in the WWE. I don't know. I don't know. I'm 50-50.
Shassel. So can we agree that if Logan Paul goes over and retains the title, it's a shoot? There really is something wrong with KO's hand? Is that fair?
That's fair. Yeah.
So now the four-way. We've touched on this back and forth a little bit. The four-way that they announced last night for the Universal Championship. Uh, there's no. I'm just gonna say it. There'll be. I said it earlier. There's gonna be a way Roman Reigns is just gonna retain that title because, like we talked about, they're not gonna take the title off of him at Royal Rumble going into WrestleMania. If he's
Right.
gonna drop the title, it'll be at WrestleMania. That's my feeling. And again, we already talked on it.
Yeah, I think if I'm looking at the guys that are in that match, I think well, number one, AJ Styles, I don't understand why they put him in that match.
Yeah, it's kind of like he was just kind of like taken out of nowhere. Like, okay, he's back. And by the way, for a dude that's like 46 years old, 47 years old, he looks big, he looks jacked, he looks awesome. And I love
Oh,
AJ.
dude.
I love AJ Styles. But he just came back from injury out of nowhere. Same as Randy Orton, mind you.
Yep.
And you're automatically throwing but again, it's probably part of the storyline too because it was the bloodline that put him out.
Yep.
Same as Randy Orton. So I kind of get that, but yeah, it's kind of like boom, right off the bat. Like, why do you want to put? I don't know. I don't know who's booking. I don't know. It just seems like too much too soon. Like, Pierce comes out. Oh, by the way, tell Roman he's got all of these guys at the Royal Rumble. Well, okay, I get it. You were going to have a contender match, and now he's just going to get all four of them. I think it takes away from what you would have had if it was just one-on-one with someone. Yeah. Because all this is doing now is another reason for Roman to not work hard. You got four guys in you got three other guys in there now. And you watch during that match how many times Roman is going to take a powder and just lay on the floor or rest and not have to fucking do anything. And then all of a sudden Solo's going to come in with that we already talked about like a show or two ago and give that awful, awful, awful thumb that he throws, or Jimmy Uso or Jay Uso, whichever one is still with him, is going to come in and super kick the air or trip somebody, and Roman's going to retain the title. It's going to take away the match that would have been better one-on-one. It's just more of a way now, unless I don't know. That's just stupid to think. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's just, yeah, I don't agree with it with a four-way for the world title, and Roman is still just going to still be champion.
Yeah, he's going to retain. Like I've already kind of come to fact with that. I think it'll come down to him and Randy. I don't see AJ Styles being the person that gets pinned. I don't see.
You think Randy would take the pin in the middle, or maybe get choked out with that front choke?
Yeah, I think it'll be Randy.
Okay.
That ends up finishing the match. That's going to lead into something down the road.
Notice one name we haven't talked about. Talking about this four-way match is LA Knight.
Yeah.
I think he's on his way to being pushed down to be around that mid-card again. Like,
yep.
Semi-main event to mid-card. But I think after this, he's going to be out of that world championship picture altogether.
I think so. Well, it was at, what was the last pay-per-view that they had? Crown Jewel, where he went up against Roman for the title. I'm like, if he doesn't do it here, he's not doing it.
No.
And he didn't do it. I think this is like the last push kind of thing where it's like, okay, so he's still riding this wave. Yeah, I think it's going to come down to Roman and Randy Randy being like a mentor of the like I mean he's like he grew up in the business.
Yeah.
And this I think he'll be the one to fall on the sword, and Roman is just going to go on to win somehow or another, whether it's current bloodline, if it's someone else that they're going to introduce into the bloodline. He's going to win one way or another.
Yeah.
He's not dropping the belt at the Rumble.
No. And
That's just how it goes.
yeah. And that's all the time I'm going to spend on that. Roman is just not going to lose the title at the Royal Rumble, but I am looking forward to see how they're going to finish it.
Yeah.
How he's going to retain. Now, Chris Jericho has been in the news lately, and he's got himself in a little bit of hot water with a young lady that was in AEW. Now, Kylie Ray, who she started in AEW in 2019. Myself personally, when AEW first started, I didn't watch a whole lot of it. I watched the inaugural show, but even while this lady was there, I didn't watch enough. I honestly don't remember her, and I couldn't tell you how long she was there. But supposedly the story is, now there's a couple of different stories. Supposedly she was invited up to Chris Jericho's hotel room, and under the impression that there were going to be other people there.
Yep.
And there weren't. It was just her and Jericho. Supposedly Jericho, and it's supposedly, because nothing's substantiated yet, Jericho made a pass at her or made her feel uncomfortable, whatever it was. She got kind of freaked out and asked for her release. Now, I've got here a quote from Tony Khan that I found. And I just have to bring it up on my phone because I've got so many things here. He confirmed in 2019 that Kylie Ray was no longer with AEW. He said that she asked for her release and was granted, that the split was also said to be super amicable. Now, what he was quoted by saying was, now this was in 2019, was, "She's no longer with us. We had so many announcements going into the Battle Royal, and she asked for her release. We granted it to her. She called me and asked me if she could be released from her contract. It's pretty simple. I said, yeah. I asked her if everything was okay. She said, yeah. She didn't want to be with the company anymore. We talked about it, and it was very simple. So, yeah." That's Tony Khan's quote to it. Now, there is a website. Well, actually not a website, a podcast called Cafe de Rene. Former WWE superstar Rene Dupree had revealed that he was told by independent talent in Manitoba that Chris Jericho had a bad reputation for going after other wrestlers' girlfriends. His whole idea was, like, I'm going to take your shit or whatever.
Right.
Now, this is Rene Dupree, and he's being quoted. Okay. "Someone asked me if I ever heard any rumors about Jericho and women. I told them when I first broke into the business, the indie guys from Mena told me, yeah, Jericho's rep was that he tries to fuck your girlfriend. Or his rep was that he tried to fuck your girlfriend. He was notorious for fucking other guys' girlfriends, which at one point was a sin. You stay away from the other guys' wives and girlfriends. Nothing brings more animosity into a locker room than when you're fooling around with someone else's fucking significant other. Does it surprise me that he does that? No. He was always an asshole to me for no reason, and I don't know why." So that's Rene Dupree. He was always told, all the indie guys always talked about Jericho. Now,
Jesus.
Now again, this is one guy, right?
Right.
There's nothing substantiated yet. Now, this all came out last week. And nothing's been proven. There's nothing like that. Now, Tony Khan refuses to comment on it. There is a disciplinary committee in place, but Tony Khan couldn't speak about Chris Jericho's situation. Only time will tell what's going to come of Chris Jericho, and things are simply don't look good for him as more and more allegations are coming out. Now, I don't know what other allegations are coming out, but now I did find this, and I don't know where this came from. It was posted by, it was on Twitter before Twitter became X or whatever the fuck it is now. ISO Wrestling. And under it, it says pure speculation, but he might be referring, Jesus, I got to stop drinking, to Kylie Ray. So here's the deal. You don't quit the hottest fed going today, and in brackets is AEW, without reason. I have it from people in the know that Kylie was asked to go to Chris Jericho's room with the understanding others would be there. When she got there, it was just him. He made a pass at her. No other details are given, and she freaked out. So, again, we don't know what's going on because it seems like everyone's being tight-lipped. Tony Khan won't talk about it. Supposedly, Jericho has a reputation of wanting to fuck the other wrestlers' girlfriends just because he can. But notice it was only said on the independent scene. Won't try to do that in the big leagues, will he? But again, these are all, it's like one guy's, supposedly I read somewhere Paul London also had something to say about him, and it wasn't very flattering. But
okay.
I don't know. I mean, anything can happen. I mean, look at the shitstorm that came out about Ric Flair after the Dark Side of the Ring did their plane ride from hell. You know, supposedly Flair is very well endowed and can do the fucking helicopter with his pecker and all this stuff. And, you know, like a lot of serious allegations on Flair. So I don't know. Here's the deal. Anyone is capable of anything good or bad in this world. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
Someone else had said that, and I'd be lying if I knew who it was. I read a lot of different things about Chris Jericho in the last week, that Jericho has skeletons in his closet. Now, I have no idea what that means. Don't even pretend to, and I'm not going to make up stuff. But if this lady is coming forward now and saying that Jericho made a pass at her or did something inappropriate in his hotel room, especially when she was invited to his room under false pretenses when there was supposed to be other people there and there wasn't. Could it happen? Absolutely. It probably could happen. Did it? We don't know. Now, what about, did you read anything about Jericho? To me, I mean, I looked and I looked and I looked, and it's like I said, everyone's staying tight-lipped. Tony Khan won't talk about it. A couple of wrestlers have said, oh, Jericho's known for this, he's known for that. But other than that, there's no concrete evidence. It's basically her word against his. That's all I can find.
Right. No, I mean, like I've read some stuff, and like you said, whatever you read online, if it's on X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, like it's hearsay until it's confirmed.
Exactly. And Tony Khan's taken a lot of slack too, because he's gone on record and been quoted as saying AEW is the safest company in the world to work in. Now, that being the case, and people are shitting on him because this lady has come forward and made these allegations about Chris Jericho, and people are pissed off because he won't talk about it. Well, he can't talk about it because I'm sure at this point, AEW has their own internal investigation doing into it.
Yep.
Excuse me, I got gas. I'm trying not to let this huge belch go. There could be legal ramifications down the road. Authorities could be involved. I don't think it's fair that Tony Khan is being ripped on because he won't talk about it, because he can't talk about it. You know, once it goes to legal, his hands are kind of tied. He can't just talk about shit. But for him, for him to be blasted for saying AEW is one of, and this was a few years ago, he said that AEW is the safest company in the wrestling business to work for. And then this comes out, you're going to kind of take that one up the ass, man, for saying that with these allegations coming out. But again, we don't know, because right now they're just allegations.
It's one thing to say that they're the safest company to work for in terms of like in-ring stuff, because two parts to this. I've seen some AEW matches where guys have not been the safest.
Jesus Christ, Matt Hardy fell off a scaffolding and cracked his head on the concrete floor.
Exactly.
Now, is that Tony Khan's fault? No, it's not.
No.
But still.
That's one side of the spectrum. Now, to put it on the other side of the spectrum, where it's like AEW is the safest company to work for backstage, obviously we're not privy to what goes on back there. This isn't the first time that Jericho has been called out in terms of his, behind the scenes stuff. Someone else, I can't remember who it was. It came out after these recent allegations came out, and they were like, "I told you so."
Yes, I did read that too. Someone was saying, "I tried to tell you guys this before, and no one would listen."
Exactly,
but I don't remember who it was. I don't remember who it was.
It was swept under the rug and completely. We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to know. We're never going to know, until there's legal stuff that is presented and charges are pressed about Jericho. But this is not the first time that we've actually heard about Jericho being sketchy behind the scenes.
Yeah. And again,
just what it is.
It's we just have to say, we can't attack anyone because we don't know the true story. I mean, guys are going to come up with their own conclusions, and guys are going to say, "Hey, I've known this guy for 30 years, this doesn't surprise me." You're goddamn right he did it. And then you're going to have other guys saying, "No, Chris Jericho would never, ever, ever do that." And then you have this lady here, this poor gal, that's saying, "You know what? He did fucking do it." And it's kind of but now the burden of proof is on her. Chris Jericho can say, "Hey, I didn't do it." And of course he's flat out denying it, that nothing happened. But now the burden of proof is on her because she's coming forward with these allegations. And until it's absolutely proven, that's all they are just allegations, because the deal is no one really knows. And that's going to do it, guys, for another episode on the Figure Four Podcast. My name is Doug. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next show.